What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a review for Married at First Sight, Houston, Season 13, Episode 3, Their First Rodeo. Alright, you guys, so before we get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, then do me a big solid favor and stop taking me out on a date and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons on the channel. Now, I will say with this review, I'm probably not going to talk about every single thing that happened in the episode, but we're going to do a pretty good job of doing so. But with that out of the way, without further ado, let's talk about Married at First Sight, Houston. All right, you guys, so the episode, it picked up where it left off. Last week's episode ended with Brett and Ryan as they're getting ready for their wedding, right? I'm trying not to be mean, rude, or anything like that. But when I look at Ryan, right? Ryan, I don't know if it's the fact that it's the beard or what, but Ryan looks like life is like literally chewed him up and just spit him out. Like he's been through a lot. Like he's had a lot of struggles in his life, right? So both Brett and Ryan, they get to the altar. They're both very nervous, right? The officiator, whatever you call it, the man that was officiating the wedding, why was he reading so slow? So Ryan, Brett's family wants you to know that she's, whatever he said. He was reading so damn slow. I'm like, dude, pick it up, right? So they said their vow. They said that Ryan read his vows first. His vows were sweet. I will give him that. Brett read her vows to him. So then afterwards, when they go take they took their pictures, right? Brett was like, Ryan physically, when Ryan said that Brett is not physically what his type of what he described. I was like, you should consider yourself lucky because looking at Brett, she's a gorgeous woman. The red hair, I mean, she's beautiful. And then you have someone like Ryan. Not saying that Ryan's not an attractive guy. I'm just saying he looks like I said, life has been really rough on Ryan. Like, I don't want to say, I want to ask this question. I'm gonna ask it. Like, I'm not being funny or rude or anything, but has Ryan ever done drugs? No shade. Has he ever done drugs? Because he just looks like someone that has struggled with an addiction to alcohol, drugs, something. Ryan just looks like he's been struggling with some sort of addiction. I'm not saying that he has. I'm just saying that's what he looks like to me. So also between Brett and Ryan, there's literally, to me, there's no chemistry between those two. When you see them sit down and talk to each other, Ryan is very awkward. I will say that he's very awkward when he's talking to her. I'm like, I don't see any kind of sparks, any kind of chemistry, anything. So in the thing that her family said, her family and friends wanted him to know, they wanted him to know that she's a glass, I guess like a glass half empty, full, a glass half full person, one of the, whatever that saying is, right? But she says she's not a negative person per se. She's more so a realist. I'm like, okay, I understand that, right? He says, well, I'm an overly positive person, which I'm like, oh wow, you're overly positive? I would have never guessed that because you look like you just, honestly, he looks like he's depressed. Ryan looks depressed. Just go keep it real with you. He looks like he is a depressed person. Now, the thing that threw me for a loop was when she was talking to his family. Like, I'm not going to talk about that stuff when they talk to the families. I'm not going to discuss that because it just wasn't enough for me. I wasn't really listening, keeping it real with you guys. But the one thing that stood out for me was with his family. One of his friends said that he wouldn't go for someone like you. You're completely not his type. I'm like, well, that is a little bit rude to say that, right? But then the thing is, people have these types, right? But if you keep going for your type, and your end goal is marriage, wouldn't common sense say, you know what? Let me stop going for what my type is and look for someone that's the complete opposite, right? That's what I would think, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, when he said that, I was just like, that was just a little bit on the rude side. If a little bit rude. Ryan, like I said, counting himself lucky. But we're gonna move on. All right, yeah. So next up, Jose and Rachel. So Jose and Rachel. we see Jose, he's getting ready to leave with his boys, right? The thing for me with Jose is Jose talks about how accomplished he is, how he got through undergrad, he got accepted into his master's program. He bought not one but two houses. He paid off his car. Those are good things, right? And I'm not gonna take away from your accomplishments, but all that stuff that you keep naming, yes, you had that stuff, but at this point, you had nobody to share that stuff with, right? So there's something that you need to take an internal look at yourself and be like, you know what? I've accomplished this. I've accomplished that. I've done this. I've done that. I've done that too. I've done this. But then you need to look and see, but I have no one to share that with. And then you have to then ask yourself the question of, why is that? And for me, I feel like the reason that Jose has nobody to share that stuff with is because he's picky. He's picky. He thinks, I'm gonna keep it real, he thinks too highly of himself. It's just a lot of factors, and I think once he needs to take an internal look at self and figure out why I'm alone. Now then, Rachel. I have a little bit of an issue with Rachel, and it's not a big issue. It's just an issue of, is Rachel actually ready for marriage? Because Rachel, once again, you guys remember, Rachel just got out of a relationship, and she just got out of a relationship 6 months ago, right? And then she said in that relationship, she almost lost herself in that relationship. I'm like, well, you need to sit down with yourself and figure out, when I get into a relationship, why do I get to the point that I'm going to lose myself in someone else? You should never do that, right? So then I also wonder if Rachel is secure in herself. I'm not saying that she's insecure. I'm just saying I wonder if she has self-confidence in herself, right? Because Rachel keeps telling us, how, she joined a gym. She lost 30 something pounds, which that's a good thing, right? I'm not taking away from what she's done, but it's the fact that she keeps repeating that. And it's just like, you keep repeating this. Is it a self-affirmation for yourself? Because that's what I get. Like, is it an affirmation for you because you repeat it like a broken record? And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the fact that she's lost weight. I commend her for that. Kudos to her. But it's just the fact that she keeps repeating this stuff, and it's almost like it's an affirmation. And that's why, like I said in last week's review, I feel like these people should have went through some kind of counseling, premarital counseling. I know they do psych evaluations before they do these reality shows, but y'all need to better vet, because some of these people have underlying issues that they're going to take into their marriage. It would be cool. Like I said, I think this show could benefit from having these experts, sit down, have these people sit down either with the experts or a psychologist or a therapist or anybody, just to talk about, any trauma that you've had in your life. Like, let's talk about Michaela. Michaela's dad died. Val's father doesn't want to have any contact with him. Rachel, her ex cheated on her. She lost weight. Who else? I definitely think that Ryan needs some help. But yeah, I think they should sit down with some, counselors. But let me know what you guys think. I could be offline. I could be off right. So they did their vow. They recited their vows. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Won't really listen to their vows, right? So after that, they did a lasso ritual after saying their vows, and then they sit down and they figure they have a little bit of stuff in common, right? They both speak Spanish. They both go to the gym. They love sports, so they have some stuff in common. But is it enough to sustain? We shall see. So, we also saw them when they sat down, right? So, Jose asked Rachel, where do you live and work, right? So, Rachel says she lives in the Galleria area. Now, I know where the Galleria area is in Houston. I know that area far too well. But she says she works in Rosenberg. Now, I'm not sure where Rosenberg is. So if anybody is in Houston, Misha, if you're watching this video, let me know where Rosenberg is. So then he asked her when her lease is up. She said September. I was like, don't ask me when that lease is up, because don't expect me to move in with you. We got to get to that point. We got to build. we got to build before I actually say, let me give away my lease to move in with you. But he says he got 2 houses. So you know what? Let me give away my lease and I'll live in one of your houses. You stay over here until we're at the point where we're ready. But she got time, right? Because, oh, well, September is next month. If they're still married, her lease is up next month. Well, no, yeah, her lease is up next month. But we'll see if they're still even married at this point. But let's move on. All right, you guys, next up, I'm going to talk about Michaela and Zach. So in this episode, we didn't really get a lot of them, but I'm going to talk about them, right? So Michaela and Zach, like I've been saying from the beginning, I do like this couple. I do want to see this couple make it. But I just have some questions when it comes to this couple. And now actually I have questions with both of them. It's not just Zach. It's Michaela and Zach. But I still have more questions toward him, right? Because we know his brothers, he has his 2 brothers that one a long-term relationship, but that's still not saying he's married to her. Then the other brother is engaged, still not married. But you're the only one that's married, right? So I just have questions. He's 27. Like, what was the rush in getting married? Why have you been thinking about marriage for a long time? Like, even as me as a kid, I didn't ever think about marriage. I didn't think about marriage until I was in my 20s. And when I was in my 20s, I was like, I want to get married. But then I thought to myself, like, I want to live out my 20s. And then when I'm in my 30s, if I want to get married in my 30s, which I'm already 32, and I'm 32, and I'm like, marriage doesn't seem like it's for me, right? And I'm still that way. I still don't seem like it's for me. So we all know that Zach's longest relationship was 9 months, right? But we also find out that Michaela's longest relationship is 364 days, a day short of a year. She said that her ex broke up with her. So I guess they had different paths in their lives that they were going, and I guess he just felt that he needed to move on, right? So then Zach, and here's another aspect of Zach, right? So we find out that Zach, when he was in school, he didn't have a lot of confidence, right? He was made fun of. He said people made, other black kids made fun of his skin, because he's darker than most. That's interesting, right? It's interesting. I've never been made fun of about my skin because I haven't always been this complexion. Like, if you guys even look at me, if you guys even look, I'm 2 different tones, right? If you look right there, I'm light right here. Not even dark, but just brown. Like, that's what I've been all my life. Oh, look at those arms. Come on now. Come on, arms. And I ain't even been working out like that. But you can definitely see the difference. Like, that is interesting. I find it interesting, right? You guys just look right there. That's light. But then you go darker right there. But, whatever. What were we talking about? But yeah, it's really sad that kid, because I'm pretty sure I know some of the comments that he's probably heard over his life. Because even when I was in school, kids would say but you hear this shit at home, right? Because you've heard, don't want to say them. Because actually, I had a friend that was in my class. Yeah, I'm gonna say what people called him. I never called him this, but people in my class, he was about Zach's complexion, right? Actually, he was a little bit darker. He was about the complexion. He was about the complexion of my shirt, which is nothing wrong with that, right? But people would call him oil spill, tar baby. So I'm pretty sure Zach probably heard some of those comments, which disgusting, right? I'm gonna need Zach to stop talking about how much older Michaela is. You're 27, she's 30. It ain't like she's 15 years your senior, 10 years your senior, or even 5 years older than you. Michaela is 20, you're 27, she's 30. You guys went to school together. Stop playing with me. Well, you could have went to school together, but we're gonna move on. All right, you guys, next up, let's talk about Mirla and Gil. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys 1000%, I would be so shocked if we get to, decision day and these 2 decide that they want to stay together. I'm gonna be so damn shocked because I just don't see it for Mirla and Gil. And more specifically, I don't see it for Mirla. It's one thing to have your standards and everything, but when you go, like one of Gil's friends said to her, when you go into a marriage, you have to then compromise. But Mirla doesn't want to do anything in the sort when it comes to compromise. And I get it. I get it. You have worked yourself to this point. Um, you've gotten to yourself to a point where you have this lifestyle that you're used to. You like labels. You like to travel, and there's nothing wrong with. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with it, but you gotta. If you get, I don't know why I'm still trying to figure out why the experts matched these two together. What did they think was gonna happen? I don't know what the experts were expecting, right? So Mirla asks Gil what his last name is, and he tells her what his last name is, and he says, "Well, what was your maiden last name?" And the face that she made, she was looking like, "What do you mean, my maiden last name?" Now for Mirla, I'm gonna give Mirla one. I'm gonna give it to Mirla right in this scene. I understood where she was coming from. Her father, that is his last name, and her father is no longer with her, so she might want to keep a part of her father with her in her last name. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? But that'll be a conversation that she and Gil have to have a discussion about. I mean, what she could do is hyphenate her name, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You could be whatever your last name is hyphenated with his. But Gil wants her to completely take his last name. But I think if she sits down with Gil and tells him, hey, my father, he's not here with me. And if you explain to him, your relationship with your father and how much your father meant to you, I'm pretty sure he should understand. But you could hyphenate your name, right? So then his friends are wanting for Mirla and Gil to kiss, and she was like, no, that's not going to happen. You can give me a cheek kiss. Well, let me give you one back. So my thing with her is she's talking about he's a complete stranger, but he's a complete stranger that you just married, right? That was a contradiction. That's a contradiction. I'm not gonna sit here and say she should kiss him. I'm just sitting here saying that she does realize she contradicted herself, right? You don't have to kiss the man, but don't put it off on the fact that, oh my God, yes, he's my husband, but he's a stranger. But you just married this damn stranger. So stop. That's a contradiction. That is a contradiction. You have an issue with kissing him because he's a stranger, but you don't have an issue with marrying him and he's a stranger. You got to pick one of the two. But again, JB is not saying that she should have kissed him. I'm just saying you realize you were contradicting yourself, right? So then she was talking to one of his friends, right, about one of his friends was telling her, because she was talking about, but I'm used to these, accustomed to, like Jimmy Choo's and going out of the country. But the friend was like, you do realize now that you're married, and that's not him. He's cheap. So you have to basically compromise. But I don't think Mirla is going to be the one that's going to compromise. Period, point blank. She's not going to compromise. I'm just telling you guys that right now. I don't see them lasting. Like I say, if we get to decision day and those two are still together, I'm going to be shocked as hell. I'm going to be shocked, and I'm not even going to bet on it. I'm going to be shocked because I don't see it for those two. But let's move on and wrap up. All right, guys, and then lastly, let's talk about Johnny and Bao. So Johnny and Bao, it wasn't much in this episode with those two, but I do see that Johnny and Bao are a great balance for each other. I can kind of see why the experts matched them up, because they do complement each other. I do feel that way, right? I feel that they complement each other. So, they're talking about, I think they're talking about how they show affection and how they show love, right? Very different, which I figured that out in the first episode, that when Johnny was talking about he wanted a stage 5 clinger. I don't know if I would want somebody that's stage 5 clingy. That's borderline crazy. But when you hear about Johnny's relationship with his father, it definitely makes sense. And this is why I keep saying that I feel like with these people that they should at least get them some kind of counseling, premarital and even afterwards. Just let them sit down and talk with somebody, because there's a lot with some of these people, and that they're before they there's a lot that they are bringing into a marriage, right? So Bao with her, she says that she shows her affection basically through gifts and through, what did she say? She shows it through gifts and something else, right? Through gifts and acts of service. But Johnny is someone who likes physical touch. Bao, she's not big on physical touch. And honestly, I'm in agreement with Bao. I feel Bao. Like, I'm not a physical person. I'm not like someone that likes physical touch. I will tell you guys, that I don't do it. Like, I don't like people coming up to me, hugging me. I don't like people touching me. Like, I cringe. Ugh. Like, I have an aunt. Love her to death, but she is a physical person. Like, she used to kiss me on the cheek all the time. I'm like, oh. And I told her one day, I'm like, Auntie, I love you, right? But I'm not that kind of person that likes to be kissed on, right? I don't like that. And she respected that. But she still hugs me. I don't have a problem with hugging her, but the kissing, oh, don't kiss me unless I tell you it's okay. Unless you ask me and I say it's okay to kiss me, don't do it. Most people, I know most people think, oh, it's so romantic, to get an honest, just to, when you're someone you're with and they just kiss you. He doesn't do it. I'm gonna push you away from me. Like, I just don't, I don't get into it. It's not for me. Not my style, not my thing. Other people may like it, right? So, Johnny, not Johnny, but Bao, she's talking about the fact that, she crushed on Johnny when they were in college. I'm like, oh, that is so cute. Now, their story is going to be a great one. If they stay together the long haul and actually have kids, they're going to have the best story ever to tell their children. Like, how interesting would that be to be able to tell your kids, mommy and daddy, we knew each other when we were in college, but we never dated each other. And then mommy and daddy went on this show when we got married, and we were supposed to be complete strangers, but we weren't strangers. I think Johnny, of all the couples on this show, Johnny and Bao are my favorite. Love those two. Those two, I really want them to make it to the end. Hands down. They have to make it to the end. But that's it, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Leave your comments in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. And hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified of when I drop anything else, and share this video. And until the next one, you guys stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands, wear a mask or not. But whichever one you guys do, be safe, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.